Hello, everyone. This is episode 3 of the podcast. It is May of 2020. And I know I said I was gonna do a behind the scenes for my Rebel series for this one, but I decided to change things up. I decided I'm gonna have like a separate I make the behind the scenes video as a separate video. And instead, this episode, I want to do like a movie review because back then when I had a second channel, I like to do movie reviews, and now I don't do those anymore. I realized that the podcast is a good way to have like a good way of it's like a good opportunity to bring it back. And on this episode of the podcast, I wanted to review the new at home on demand movie which was supposed to be in theaters, but now quarantine has happened. Scoob. And here I am joined with Raichous because if you don't know, if you haven't looked at his Twitter, aside from Ben 10, Scooby-Doo is the other thing he does not stop talking about.
Yeah, I get complaints a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just living my best life.
Yep. So this is gonna be like all spoilers because if we did like a non-spoiler section, it would be really hard to do because I just don't want to do that shit. I just want to give spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie and you do plan to see it, you might not want to watch this podcast, and you might want to see the movie. I believe it's free on like some websites, like on Kids Cartoon right now. Yeah. So you can go see the movie if you want, and then come back if you want to hear our opinions on it. So before we get break down the story, when I heard this was first announced, I didn't know what to really think of it. I'm not a big Scooby-Doo fan like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the franchise is all right. I think the franchise is all right. It's when a certain shows formulaic, you kind of start to lose track of, you kind of get the whole gist of it. Aside from Mystery Inc., which has an actual story saga and all that, which is one of the greatest Scooby-Doo shows in my opinion.
More people should watch that, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't know what to think of this. I thought it would be fine. And then the trailer came out, and I thought it looked it would be a fun movie. The animation looked really nice. And at first I thought it was just gonna be the basic run-of-the-mill Scooby-Doo plot, the gang solves a mystery, they catch whoever it is, they unmask it. But apparently it's not exactly that. It's apparently more. It's kind of, there's more to it than this. It's not your usual Scooby-Doo kind of story. Apparently, it's kind of it's kind of like an origin story of Scooby-Doo, but I feel like they crank up the ridiculous kind of factor of it behind Scooby-Doo specifically. And not only that, this is the thing, while after watching this movie, this felt less of a Scooby-Doo movie and more of a semi homage to Hanna-Barbera properties.
Oh, definitely.
Because when I saw the trailer, or at least a teaser trailer, Blue Falcon was apparently going to be in it, but they didn't show in that trailer until the next trailer was released. And I then look at the description, and it had certain Hanna-Barbera characters in it. And at first I thought it was just gonna be cameo stuff because in the teaser trailer in the background you could see some references I forgot what the monkey's name was. It was
Gray Babe. Gray Babe.
No, it was no, it was not Gray Babe. It was someone else. Monkey? Yeah.
There are more monkeys? Oh, I gotta go back and watch it again.
I forgot what it was. But in the description, it had characters Dee Dee Sykes from the Teen Angels, and the main villain of this movie, Dick Dastardly, who was the main villain from Wacky Races.
Yeah, so, beautifully played by Jason Isaacs.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has probably the best performance in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. And so yeah, like I said, this is like more than like a Scooby-Doo movie. Like,
Yeah.
and this, at least to me, this felt like the start of Warner Warner Brothers Pictures doing some sort of like their own cinematic universe revolving around Hanna-Barbera, like, properties.
I hope so.
And there's like a lot, and it definitely shows like there's like a lot of scenes and like and moments in this movie where you can definitely see that. So, and we'll definitely point them out as much as we can.
Yeah.
So, so the movie starts off with it begins like a long time ago on how
10 years ago, I think it would be 2010, I believe.
something like that. It's when Shaggy and Scooby first meet for the first time. There are people like fucking talking outside my fucking door.
Yeah, I have to be like in my living room area because that's where the computer is, so that's my biggest worry.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, the opening scene is how Shaggy and Scooby met. It's on a
Yeah.
beach setting. The movie opens with a song called "California Lovin'."
Yeah.
You see Scooby like stealing this whole big roll of meat, big jar of meat, and he's running from the cop, who because he's like taking stray dogs to the pound and all that whatever. And along he hides like in the beach in like sand,
Yeah.
and then he comes across Shaggy, who is like he's like having a picnic all alone.
Sad.
Yeah, Scooby overhears him on how lonely he is all the time, so he pops up and they share sandwiches. It's a real cute moment. And we see this in the trailer. The cop shows
Yeah.
up. He's like, "The stray's coming with me." Shaggy's like, "No, this dog is actually mine." And that's where he actually got his name. Which was a good thing, which is a clever thing. Like I like really liked from like the trailer. He was like, "Oh, that's how he got his name." Like, and like Scooby snacks aren't just like a Scooby, kind of like brand. Like they didn't come from Scooby-Doo. Scooby snacks are actually like
Yeah.
a actual like food
I
product.
I watched the movie twice, and both times I thought to myself, "Who the fuck asks what a dog's middle name is?"
I was gonna say that too. I was like, I don't give my dog like my middle and last name. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, he's like, what's his name? Scooby. I was like, okay. He was like, I don't know why he needs like a full name. Like, but that's like besides the point.
I also I watch a lot of animation YouTubers. This sounds off topic. Uh, when Shaggy's like his name is Snacks and everyone's questioning it, I'm like, oh, I know someone on YouTube who has an animal named Snacks. I don't know what's so weird about that. It's an animal.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. You can like name it like an animal, like a pet, like whatever like you want it to be.
Yeah.
Uh, but like that's besides the point. And that's yeah, that's like how Shaggy and Scooby met.
Yeah.
Later on like a Halloween night, or at least Halloween weekend or whatever. Scooby gives not Sc- Shaggy gives Scooby his like classic collar with the little diamond with SD on it. Um, and it's a little off-putting. I will say this: it's a little off-putting
Yeah.
on how young Scooby's voice is also his like regular voice.
Yeah. They should have like heightened his voice or something like they did for Pup Named. It
Yeah,
was
that's what I
weird.
was thinking. Like Pup Named Scooby Doo.
I just
Um,
realized looking back, one of the scenes from the trailers is Shaggy licking Scooby, and that was cut from the movie, and I didn't notice until like
oh yeah, that
watching
was
it
right.
today.
I don't know why the cat out. It's like honestly like a pretty okay funny scene. Like
Yeah.
um
They make up for it later, in my opinion.
they also cut off like where Scooby and Shaggy are like in a movie theater. I thought that would be like in the opening
Yeah.
of the film or whatever, and they would just be talking.
I kind of thought, I don't know, I've thought maybe that works because in the trailer it seemed like they were just talking about their own movie themselves,
Yeah,
so
I
it
guess so.
made a bit more sense.
I guess. So anyway, yeah. Flash for it's a Halloween night. Scooby and Shaggy are dressed as Blue Falcon and Dynamite. And
Yeah.
while they're trick or treating, their candy gets taken by some bullies, and they get thrown into like this little haunted looking house called the Rigby House.
Yeah.
And when his candy gets thrown in there, that's when they run into Fred, Daphne, and Velma.
Yeah.
Fred is like Fred's dressed like a knight. Daphne is dressed like Wonder Woman, and Velma is dressed as it's not Judge Judy, but some judge that I forgot the name of,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
something like that. Yeah.
God, I made a Judge Judy joke the moment I saw it, and then Shaggy makes
Yeah,
a
Shaggy
Judge
made it
Judy
too,
joke
yeah.
later, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Fred, Daff, and Velma decide to help Shaggy in getting his candy back. So they go into the Rigby house, and it
They
seemed
fight the ghost of Uncle Fester.
it kind of does look like a Fester with the hood on, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it turns out they have like a little like chase sequence around the house.
Yeah.
Daphne trips and needs to be saved just like she always does. At one point,
Naturally.
yeah. And then Velma sees like the harness like that's keeping him up, so Fred chops it with like a nearby axe that was like hanging on the wall.
I don't know how he picked it up, by the way, because those things are fucking heavy, and Fred's like a kid.
That is true, yeah.
Then he just chucks it across the fucking house.
What if he just like threw it and like just like landed on Daphne's face? He was like, "Ah, shit." So yeah, they stop. I was gonna call him Uncle Fester. So they stop the ghost. And they unmask him. It's the owner of the house named Rigby.
Yeah.
And Shaggy and Scooby, who were hiding in the closet the whole time, found out he was stealing. I don't know what it was supposed to speak of, but it was like
Fucking
television
local.
equipment or some shit.
Yeah. Okay, so I noticed my second watch through that they had officially in this universe at least their equivalent to Apple is banana.
Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't notice that really.
Yeah, I noticed it on my second watch through. I looked for a lot more like Hanna-Barbera references and nods.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
Yeah,
Because-
it annoyed the hell out of Alex.
Yeah. Like
'Cause
one,
I would
one of the upsides of watching it like on demand, like I bought it on YouTube. I kind of wish I didn't because it was uploaded for free on Kiss Cartoon. But that's beside the point. But like one of the upsides is I can actually rewatch them and like take notes.
Yeah.
So yeah, they catch Rigby. He's arrested, and that's when like the whole mystery gang was united. And after that, they play a really awesome like shot for shot recreation of the Scooby-Doo show, and with the song and everything.
I
was like,
loved it so much.
It's one of my favorite. I think it's like my favorite scene, like the whole movie.
My favorite part of that whole situation too is that like they reuse sounds from like the monsters and sound effects from the
They
old
use
cartoon.
the same effects too, which is really cool.
And I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, they
Because
even
who can do
include.
the space kook like cackle as good as the original space kook?
Yeah, that was like really. It was like an awesome like throwback, and
It was amazing.
yeah, and that's how they like transition to like them being adults. It's like they've been doing this for like almost a decade. And then after that is over, they like are in like this diner, and they're discussing like trying to invest in like more better in like Mr. Inc. So
Then the celebrity cameo.
which was really unexpected. Simon Cowell.
It was.
Fucking
I found
pops up
out,
out of nowhere.
Found it through Instagram. Simon Cowell was thrilled because he and his son loved the show and watching it together. His son actually makes an appearance later on in the movie too.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah.
Is he that British kid who's like, what is that thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering why he was British. Okay.
I wanted to know how they were in fucking Athens.
Yeah. But we'll get to that later on. So yeah, Simon.
I do want to say, sorry to cut you off.
It's fine.
But for anyone who doesn't know me, I like to say I'm in the top 10 of Scooby-Doo fans because I know way more than I should.
Yeah, you're probably the only one I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, Simon Cowell somehow is their investor. And he breaks down like the role of like the whole Mr. Gang. Like Fred is like the muscle. Daphne is like the sweet, passionate one. Velma is the smarts, and pretty much he just like disses on Shaggy and Scooby on how how not serious they really take stuff. And obviously Shaggy and Scooby are like offended by that, so they run off to like this bowling place to Taco Bowl.
One of my favorite lines is like, sorry, you lost us at hard work and dedication, or then you got us back at sandwich.
Yeah, which is like classic dialogue for them.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so they go to the Takamoto Bowl to get their mind off of stuff, and then they are like ambushed when they realize like the pins and the balls are like actual robots, and they have this like little chase
Yeah.
sequence and this little like
I
segment where they pretend to be like
yeah.
waiters for like the little in
That
diner
was
there.
so amazing.
Yeah. Um.
I don't remember the names of the robots, but I'm more than sure it was either a reference to Dick Dastardly and Muttley and their flying machines or Wacky Races. I legitimately can't remember. I know he says it like closer to the beginning of the movie though.
I don't know if I can. I don't think I can remember if they actually gave him a name or not. But I want to say this about the robots. I never seen Wacky Races, so I don't know if these are the actual designs.
No,
Or if they're actual things from the Wacky Races show.
they were made up for Scoob, but
Okay.
I still like it.
I want to say
Alex was
this.
a toy of Dusty.
Yeah, I want to say this about the robots. It's like they don't really feel that menacing unless they're in like they're in that like lobster chainsaw hand kind of thing.
They're very minion-y.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it's like this was like these characters are clearly like minion fodder, and they're
And I
just like
think
the
that
cute value for like the female lions.
yeah. Well, the thing is, Scoob is made off of a childhood property, so clearly it's for kids. And kids love minions, so they're like, how can we profit off of minions? Make them robots!
Mm.
So, that's what they did. I don't have a problem with it, though. They're less annoying than minions. They're more useful.
Yeah. And so yeah, it was Shaggy and Scooby get ambushed in the bowling alley, and suddenly they're saved by this like tractor beam which picks them up, and they realize that they're in the Falcon Fury, and Scooby makes the IKEA joke from the trailer.
Everyone's favorite joke that I say every time I watch the movie.
I don't know how I laughed at that joke when I first saw the teaser. It just was like, I don't know.
I know.
I don't know. Maybe it was the delivery. I was like,
laughed at that joke.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, because from the beginning, like, Scooby, when he's with Shaggy, is set up to become just as big of like a Blue Falcon fan. And then they're pulled up by a tractor beam for Scooby to somehow think IKEA is like out of the world. It's like not necessarily good humor, but the kind of random stupid humor that you get from something that you watch at 3 a.m. that you laugh at and then feel bad about later.
Yeah. I don't know how it made me laugh. It was maybe it was like Shaggy's delivery. I was like, "Motherfucker, did you say IKEA?" It's like, no.
I laughed at more of the jokes than I should have, I feel, but I'm also like a lifelong Scooby-Doo fan, so I laughed at them mostly for nostalgia's sake, I feel.
But yeah, that's when they're introduced to Dee Sykes, who in her cartoon she was like part of this team called the Teen Angels in the Captain Caveman show. But here she's like somewhat of a sidekick to Blue Falcon, other than Dynamite, of course. But before they're introduced to Blue Falcon, there's like a little segment which with Fred, Daphne, and Velma looking for Shaggy and Scooby. And then one thing I liked is like they have like this radio and they listen on police messages.
Feels very Spider-Man.
Yeah, that like I like that kind of factor. Like that's how they find their mysteries and all.
Yeah.
But Dee Dee takes Shaggy and Scooby into like the Blue Falcon, and that's when Blue Falcon shows up, but not the real Blue Falcon. It's actually his son, Brian.
So my hope, if we get the universe, is that we get a Blue Falcon movie and we get to see the original Blue Falcon in some way, but I get the feeling we won't.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I mind it. This Blue Falcon wasn't bad, at least in the last scene. He got annoying the more the movie progressed.
Yeah, like when I saw that Blue Falcon was teasing the tease, I was like, oh shit, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know, here, like from that trailer when he dabbed, it was like, it was kind of like iffy.
Well, the thing is, Blue Falcon was always set up to kind of be like the boomer trying to fit into millennial culture. But the thing is, that joke's only funny for so long, and then eventually it begins to feel like actual boomers trying to write millennial culture, and then it's not funny, it's ironic.
Yeah, this is like one of like the down how it like takes a point off like for this film. Like Blue Falcon is kind of like really he like really gets obnoxious the more and more. And
the worst
he like doesn't take shit seriously.
Yeah.
And all.
The worst part about Blue Falcon is that earlier in the movie, like the writers take a jab at the original writers of Scooby-Doo, where the woman who works at the bowling place says that Shaggy sounds like it was written by adults, you think that's what hippie teenagers sound like, but it's like these writers are doing the exact same thing to Blue Falcon. That's what they think millennial teenagers are like, but it really isn't, at least not anymore.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like Blue Falcon is introduced as well as Dynamite,
Yeah,
which I did
I
not
love Dynamite in this
I did
movie.
not know was voiced by Ken Jeong, which was
Yeah.
weird because when I heard his voice, I was like, that does not sound like Ken Jeong.
What's the thing is, so I was a little bit disappointed by Dynamite at first, because Dynamite was always made out to be kind of dopey and funny, the okie dokie Blue Falcon type of character.
Uh-huh.
But the more I watched the movie, the more I got the feeling of he's a robot. He could be updated. And also, if I was stuck with an adult trying to be a millennial, I'd probably get annoyed really fast too.
Yeah. So, what happens next? So, yeah, it turns out, the person, like the villain behind all this is Dick Dastardly. And Dee Dee Sykes, Blue Falcon, and Dynamite are trying to stop him because his plan is to collect these, like, big 3-skull Cerberus heads and go to Athens, to revive Cerberus.
So you said you never watched Wacky Races, right?
No.
All right, so one cool reference and nod that I want to mention to you is that Dick Dastardly's ship is actually shaped like his car from the Wacky Races.
Now that you mention it, yeah, it kind of does look like that.
I watched a lot of Wacky Races growing up. I used to like DVR and watch it in the morning because it was on at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, I never watched a show, but I only know like a few kind of like characters and things from it. But yeah, they like this Dick Dastardly goes in, like, tries to like take Scooby and Shaggy, but they escape from him. And Dee Dee, Blue Falcon, and Dynamite want to currently, like, or at least temporarily, like, recruit Shaggy and Scooby to join them on this certain mission because Scooby and Shaggy have possibly like a big certain, like, role in this.
Yeah. Turn into a sad moment later.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what happens next.
Let's see. After they find out Dick Dastardly is after Scooby, trying to remember because I just watched it to refresh my brain so I can keep it in my mind. Let's see. They're talking. Find about the skulls of Cerberus. I believe. After that, we get. I think it might be the scene where Dick Dastardly is like talking to his bunch of robot minions.
Oh yeah, and that's when
then he
where he
grabs
puts
the
the
one-
vacuum on his
Yeah.
head. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I might be wrong, by the way. Full disclosure.
it sounds about right, honestly.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the pacing.
I will say this: when I first watched it, he introduces Muttley in his film.
Yeah.
And at first, during the trailers, I was like, "How come Muttley's not with Dick?" Who's like,
Yeah.
but he does introduce like Muttley in this.
Yeah.
But at first, when
Thing is-
when I first watched it, it was like,
Yeah.
when he like showed a picture, I was like, "Is he fucking dead?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. When I first started, when you see Dick for the first time, I'm like, where the fuck is Muttley?
Yeah. At first I thought it was like dead, but later on,
Yeah.
actually, it's explained later on, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
So yeah, that little bit with like Dick and his robots happened. And later on, they are actually they go looking for the second skull. And Dee Dee says it's somewhere in.
It's like the Gobi Desert, and
Yeah,
then Blue
yeah, it's like a
Falcon's
desert.
like, one of my followers said it's in.
He's like, I got an anonymous text saying it was like in this like abandoned amusement park or whatever.
It's like, God, the amount of stupid in Blue Falcon bothers the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's really, really like annoying. And they somehow are convinced to go to like the amusement park. and surprise, surprise, it was all a trick from Dick Dastardly to put Scooby like in like danger for him to be captured or whatever. So
there are some references here. If you try to point out certain references that are in certain scenes that I remember clearly.
yeah, there are references like in the background of this, like
when they're
like
in
more
the
specifically,
arcade,
yeah,
like
that's what I
there's
was
a
gonna
Hex
bring up,
Girls poster.
yeah, there's a Hex
There's
Ghost poster.
I remember Space Ghost somewhere, and in the background of the racing game, one of the cars, the pink one, was Penelope Pitstop from Wacky Races.
There's also a Laugh Olympics like arcade machine.
Yeah. Oh, that one excited me so much.
There was one poster. It was like on the banana splits. And
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I saw it like in the background.
Holy shit!
I saw that. I was like, and then I got flashbacks to that dumbass FNAF ripoff of a movie.
Yeah.
I was like,
I wonder if the Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe is gonna have the banana splits.
As long as it's not the FNAF ripoff one.
I think it'll end up being animated. If any, it'll be weird animated. Holy shit.
But yeah, like conflict happens. Dick is trying to go after Scooby.
Yeah.
Dick corners them in like the arcade. Shaggy's like, you'll have to go, like, I don't know what he specifically says, but Dick says something. He says,
so he
I'm
was
not
like,
here.
"What do you want with us?" And then Dick's like,
I don't want
I want the dog.
Yeah, he
You're
said he wants
useless.
Yeah, he wants the Scooby specifically.
Yeah.
Which for Shaggy was kind of like ouch. So Scooby runs away and he is led to like this little hall of mirrors kind of thing.
And then the meme scene happens.
Yeah, he's like, you can call me Dick.
Actually, I don't know if anyone else necessarily caught on to it, but the first thing Dick says to Scooby are the opening lines from the theme song.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I didn't notice that until my second watch somehow.
But yeah, that whole like scene where he's like, my name is Dick. He was like, okay, you're just this is just an excuse just to say Dick on like a kids movie. He's like, and he even like pushes out. He's like, Dick. He's like, He's like, it's my actual name, so it counts.
God, it kind of reminds me of Cam to a point. No offense to him, but it's like you piss him off in a game just enough, and that becomes him. Love the dude though.
There was
that whole mirrors scenes was very Mysterio-like.
I liked how it looked. Like how it was like animated. Yeah. I want to say one moment that happens. Blue Falcon is like hiding from like the robots and like a Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
And Suga gets like blasted up there. And there's Shaggy. Blue Falcon's like, what should I do? And Shaggy's like, drop some F-bombs. I was like, what?
Okay, so.
Before
I watched it.
Like the F-bombs are actually like Falcon bombs. He was like,
yeah. I thought like, that was funny though.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. I was like, I'm sorry.
I want to waste some time making an edit where Blue Falcon's like, you want to throw? He's like, I sure do.
Fuck.
And like all the robots just like blow away.
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to think.
After this, the next scene is there. Like, first, we get this cool scene of Dynamite being kick-ass, and, like, Scoob gets into, like, a go-kart or a bumper car to get away, and he's like, you can scream now, and then he goes, and then they're, like, on the roller coaster, shit keeps happening.
Mm-hmm. I think there's, like, I don't know if this was before or after, but, Fred, Daphne, and Velma take one of, like, the old, what they think was, like, a broken, like, robot.
Oh yeah, that happened in the scene where the woman's like, "Man, their friends must be pieces of shit. I bet they feel bad right now."
Yeah, they they analyze it. They like see the hair on it from Dick Dastardly.
Yeah.
And they scan it. And that's kind of where the background of Scooby's origin, like Scooby's true origin, like comes into play, because apparently he's a descendant of a dog, Paredes, who is a dog of Alexander the Great.
Seeing that, yeah. Later on, Shaggy's like, I guess I'm not important in his mind, I'm thinking, so Shaggy's probably like an ancestor of Alexander the Great or something. Was this destiny or something? But no,
No, that's not the case.
thank
Um,
God.
and
No.
I want to say this about the Fred, Daphne, and Velma moments. Like,
Yeah.
while I don't mind them in this film, they rarely have anything to do in the
Well,
first half.
yeah.
It's like,
It's kind of like a regular Scooby-Doo thing. Where like Fred's like, let's split up, gang, and the camera crew's like, all right, we're gonna go with the dog and the hippie, the funny.
um, but yeah, it's like even then, it's like, like for the first half, it's just like when that
It's
whole like
mostly
origins on how they met was done.
yeah.
It's like
It's mostly just Scooby and Shaggy fucking around.
pretty much it's like Fred, Daphne, and Velma really didn't have anything to do when it came to how they were like with they didn't. I
Yeah.
don't think they could come up with like scenes on how they could like write them in. So they
I
just
think
have them
Fred,
like in.
Daphne, and Velma's most important moment is the one scene that broke and divided Twitter about this movie.
Uh,
We'll get to that later.
yeah, and then it's like they don't they like they're pretty much in like the mystery van just trying to catch up to like the actual like thing that's going down.
Yeah.
So and again like this is Scooby-Doo. You kind if you don't know unless you don't know the show, you kind of already know what the characters are like. But
Yeah.
but
Fred's
even then,
stupider in this than most other versions, though, somehow.
yeah, and like
Like, even
overall,
Mystery Inc., Fred would know you had to pay for Netflix.
yeah. Um, Fred's pretty much like a walking stereotype, really. Like
Yeah.
he like cares about his like van more than anything. Like he's kind of dim-witted in some moments. Um, I will
There's
say
one point
I will say this
where...
like Zac Efron does like a really good performance as Fred. Like I forgot he
Yeah.
was even playing it at some points.
So the thing is, on Twitter and Instagram, really, anywhere on social media, people are mad because the TV show cast weren't asked to play the characters. And I guess that's fine. I don't know. People think it's scummy that they recast him, but this is, at least to me, no different than like Kevin Conroy not being cast as Batman in something that's not related to the Bruce Timm's like Batman stuff. But I think the cast that we have, for all intents and purposes, did pretty well.
Yeah, I thought they did fine. Like plus this is like I know it's like on demand now, but this was going to be like
Yeah.
in theater movie. Like no doubt there would be like big names celebrities. Except for Scooby Doo, who was like the original voice actor,
Yeah.
which of course you gotta have like the original
Yeah.
Scooby voice in there.
I
But
say the one time a Scooby Doo movie didn't have, like a theatrical one, didn't have the original voice of Scooby Doo, it flopped bad.
hmm
So
and yeah okay back to the plot. It's like oh yeah, it's like so Scooby tells Blue Falcon and the others that he's like the key to like the
yeah,
Dick Dastardly's plan. And at that point, Shaggy starts feeling like jealous and incompetent of himself. Like
yeah,
Scooby gets his like own suit, which takes off his original collar and replaced with this new
yeah.
superhero looking collar.
You get this like whole sequence of Shaggy and Scooby being assholes to each other, to a point. Shaggy's a lot more asshole than Scooby,
Yeah, this is
obviously, but
like I feel like this is where the point where I where it felt like I was starting to like lose interest like a bit because like this whole like it kind of felt like out of nowhere like I get where Shaggy's kind of coming from,
it
but
felt kind of out of character for Shaggy.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It was like I don't know, this like feels like out of nowhere. Another thing is like Brian comes in to like comfort like Shaggy and then Shaggy brings up his like lack of self confidence. Trying to be like his father. Was like it felt like really forced exposition kind of thing. Like they couldn't like figure
And
out
then-
on how to give Blue Falcon his like own story
Yeah.
arc here. So they just
I will
have Shaggy
say-
say it.
All the bad moments were at least accompanied by something semi-funny.
Mm-hmm.
So when Shaggy's like, I'm gonna give you exposition about how you are Blue Falcon, he's like, oh, and then he like slides away all depressed.
Yeah.
And the way it was done was funny to me, at least.
Um. But yeah, this is like where the point where like Shaggy starts being like just kind of like a kind of like an asshole to like for the next like 30 minutes of the movie. Um,
Yeah.
which is kind of like Scooby is like like this big he's like has this like a whole background, and Shaggy, okay, I guess he doesn't fully know on
Yeah.
like the whole Alexander the Great thing, but even
Yeah.
then it's like you would like I feel like he would do his like best to like protect Scooby at all costs from being captured by
Yeah.
Dick or whatever.
It's like with Mystery Incorporated, when this is going to be spoilery for Mystery Incorporated, but the series is also a decade old. If you haven't seen it, that's your problem. Please see it, people. But at the point where like Pericles, or I think it's the ghost, that one dude is like, your dog's important, boy. You don't see Shaggy going, how come he's important and not me?
Mm,
He's more or less like, Scoob's important. We gotta protect him.
yeah. So I'm trying to think. Da, 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 da.
I
Oh,
know
yeah.
that the next scene is the
Yeah, I remember the next scene. It was like Fred, Daphne, and Velma are on the road looking
yeah
for Scoob, and they find out like they see like the picture of Blue Falcon that they took at the
yeah.
amusement park, and that's where they
Then
find
they're
out where they are. And
then they're
then
stopped by a cop.
yeah, they're stopped by this hot
That
cop,
cop.
Officer
Okay,
Jap.
so oh yeah, Officer Jaffe, which to anyone who doesn't know is a reference to Velma's original voice actor Nicole Jaffe. But
I didn't know that.
also
Yeah.
not 48 hours after the movie came out, somebody took that picture into an art program and put her in underwear.
Yeah, I was like, I saw this
Like,
scene. I was looking at this scene. I saw the cop. I was like,
yeah.
to Rule 34.
Also, okay, so there are so many. You'll get like threads on Twitter of someone like, I would give up my life for this person, and they retweet it with like, he's a dude.
Yeah, this is kind of like what like the part like one of the big memorable moments for me because
Yeah,
like you're looking at this cop who's like beautiful like Barbie looking ass face, long blonde
yeah,
hair, big ass hips, and later soon realized that it was actually Dick Dastardly the whole time, and
God,
pretty much every
I
dude
think
was like, even Fred is like, I have mixed
yeah,
feelings.
Fred's line summed up the entire scene perfectly.
I like to imagine like whatever like dude was watching this and saw the cop, they like paused the movie just to jack off to it, and then they unpause it, and then it's revealed that it's Dick, and he's like, oh no.
They pause it right before he unmasks, and then after they come, they play it again. He's like, "How dare you?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't know, man. You're hot."
Does this mean anything? Does it? But yeah, this was like a big moment, and obviously this took a lot of like people who watched the movie like on on
Yeah,
storm.
I will say it. So it was kind of not a nod, I don't think, but it was kind of foreshadowing for the ending of the movie to a point.
Was it?
Yeah, because in the end of the movie, uh, Dick Dastardly ends up being Simon Cowell. And
Oh,
he has two masks on. And it's like Dick Dastardly can be a woman who's much smaller than him and do a woman's voice. Clearly, he can do anything.
hmm.
Oh boy,
Um, but
people
yeah,
are gonna move a bed into my house now. We're
yeah,
gonna
it's
have some
a
background noise. I hope that's not too much of a problem.
hopefully not. But yeah, Dick Dastardly captures Fred, Daphne, and Velma.
I'm gonna mute my mic. Hold up.
Okay. They're found out through the robot who they thought was like all broken up, but he comes back to life and wakes up, and that's where he got the location of Fred, Daphne, and Velma and where they were going. Um, and and they are taken into this little prison. And that's when that's when they meet like little Dusty, who was like the robot who got his head taken off and was replaced with a vacuum cleaner.
That scene
And
kind of reminds me of the Guardian scene where Yondu and Rocket are
with
in
Baby
like the
Groot,
prison cell.
yeah,
Yeah, Dusty is just Baby Groot again.
pretty much. But yeah, Dusty gives like get us a respect for like the Fred, Daphne, and Velma, especially Daphne because she's the one who like cleans out his like vacuum face. And they overhear what Dick Dastardly is doing. And there's like this little bit where the robots do like the wheel like kind of chant, and I was like, and so they hide in this room, which
is the one scene ever where Fred does something smart in this movie.
Yeah. They contact Blue Falcon, but really more like Dee Dee really through Dynamite.
I feel bad for Dynamite. That couldn't have felt pleasant.
Yeah, no. And during like this whole scene, after like they tell them where Dick Dastardly is headed, they see his fully. They see like this like not only like this like old like plans on what Dick Dastardly is doing behind like all the dogs and all that, but they also see like this little shrine of Muttley, and this is where the true background on where Muttley has been all this time. Apparently, one time when Dick was opening a portal to like the underworld, to try to steal gold and treasure from it, he says like Muttley wanted to do it on his own, but in the flashback, Dick is like, "Yeah, you go in."
Yeah, that's kind of like so in Wacky Races, at least. There'd be several situations where Dash like, "All right, Muttley, we must set out my trap," and then by "we" he means Muttley does it, and he sits in his car safely.
Yeah, and I like this sequence because like like talking in real life, he's saying one thing, but in the flashback, it's totally different.
I do like that, despite how he says it and despite how it happens in the scene. Either way, he does genuinely regret his dog going into the underworld and not being able to come out.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's still his pet. He still loves him.
Mm-hmm. Like, so he sends him to the underworld to get the treasure, but apparently this portal he made was like a one-way ticket. And I don't know how Muttley doesn't die from this, but he's apparently taken by Cerberus. And I don't know how long it's been since he's been there, but I'm pretty sure he should have like died.
It was like 10 years, I think.
If it was 10 years, he would be dead. Then if he had nowhere to eat and the Cerberus was there the whole time, I was like, how is he not so like?
He ate the gold.
Even then, like fucking, you would still die. But yeah, that's how Muttley was gone, and isn't seen through like until like this point. So the third skull is on a place called Messick
Island. Okay.
Messick Island.
Here's why Messick Island. Here's why I love that. Messick is named after Don Messick, the original voice of Scooby-Doo from 1969 to sometime in 1980 something, but it was before Zombie Island. Also, I like the scene when they're in the room because of the "I'll take poor man's Hemsworth."
Oh yeah, he's like, wait, Chris or Liam? He's like, and so Blue Falcon. Dee Dee knows about the mountain because of Velma told him through Dynamite.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention when Velma's contacting them through Dynamite, Dynamite's like, "Don't look at my search history." He's like,
"Yeah."
I
What's his search history though? He also searched up for that one cop that everyone paused the movie to search up during the movie.
Doggy style. But they go to the I can't say it. Mesmic Mountain. And this is where like the whole conflict of like Shaggy and Scooby like they break up because Shaggy's being a kind of an asshole. He's like, it's either them or me. He's like, I have to go with them to save the world. Like fucking.
This is the Scooby-Doo version of you save the world. I play with boys and girls.
You play with kids. You just saved the world.
Yeah. Shaggy is Casper in this one, by the way.
Only if you. I feel like some people will get the reference, but whatever. The conflict happens. Blue Falcon talks to Scooby about it, and he's saying he's like having the same deal with like Dynamite, on how Dynamite is actually kind of babying him because he's not. He's trying to be like his. He wants him to be like his father when clearly he's like not. He's like being more immature about it.
Messick Island is where my least favorite character introduction happens.
Is it?
So here's the thing. I love Captain Caveman as a character, and I love Tracy Morgan as a person and actor. He's great. He's talented, and I love what he did with the character.
Hmm.
But I don't like how Captain Caveman was done in the movie.
I mean, I never seen Captain Caveman. I do know of the character,
So
but I don't
I
know what
never
he fully
watched
is.
much Captain Caveman, but the one thing I always associated with him was a Captain Caveman,
Yeah, yeah, I do know
and
of that at least. Yeah, and he does do that
and
in the movie. Yeah.
yeah, and I know he's not the most intelligent. In most cases, he doesn't speak in full sentences.
Yeah, I was thinking that when he was talking, I was like, did he
Yeah,
always have a voice? I was like,
yeah. So it
I
was
mean, I know
weird.
he had a voice, but I didn't think it would speak in like this
Yeah,
kind of
I
kind
still
of tone.
like him in the movie. I just wish it was done mildly better.
Yeah, so it was said that
Also,
Captain Caveman was gonna be in
yeah,
is gonna be was in this film, but not for
yeah,
much as people think. It was like only for like
yeah.
this little one scene.
Also, I wonder because Captain Caveman, he's like, oh, I've got a bunch of friends, and then a bunch of cavemen come down, and they all look like him.
Yeah,
So what the fuck are they gonna do when the Flintstones gets introduced into this universe?
they could pull a Billy and Mandy or like and unfreeze
Uh,
them on some shit.
yeah, I like to imagine they go back to Messick Island and they learn what haircuts are.
Mm. Um, and so yeah, there. This is the moment where Blue Falcon and Scooby run into Captain Caveman, and they
Yeah,
tell him on where the third skull is, which
I
he
do
calls
like.
the slog hole or whatever.
Yeah, I
Um,
do like the subversion of the quote genre necessarily, where someone goes into like unexplored ground and the people there, instead of being like hostile, try to be like hospitable and friendly, even though they don't think these people would understand them at all.
mm,
Because you see a lot of movies, like I know in one of the King Kong movies, they go to this island and one of them tries to give a girl a chocolate bar or something, and then she screeches and like her whole tribe attacks them.
uh-huh.
I watched that when I was young, so I don't know if I'm narrating that scene right, but
Hmm. So, uh, after the introduction of to Captain Caveman, he takes down the skull, and then it goes back to Shaggy and the ship.
yeah.
And he's like, my fucking storm alarm on my phone is going off for some reason. Um,
Oh boy.
uh, so anyway, yeah. Shaggy's he's looking at his like collar he gave to Scoob.
Yeah.
But and he's kind of having some regrets about like breaking, quote unquote,
Yeah.
breaking up with him. But then
I do
then
think
yeah.
that if Scooby and Shaggy didn't have some conflict, in the end Scooby wouldn't have had his collar anymore because that was on a tray marked for incinerator.
Mhm. Like
Like holy shit.
I feel like I could have expected like some sort of conflict, but I feel like it could have been like handled a little more better, like to
Yeah,
have like
it
smooth
could have
out.
been done more in character because there have been times where Scooby and Shaggy aren't talking and they're like against each other, but this kind of felt like it's like we need a central conflict for our movie.
Hmm. So while Shaggy is reminiscing, look on the collar, it somehow and it's gonna be obvious on what this is actually gonna be, but Fred somehow comes onto the island
Yeah,
in his mystery van, and it's so obvious that it's like Dick behind the mask because
yeah.
not only do we have like an unmasking scene of Dick like a couple of scenes beforehand, but
He
the
also
way he like talks, like how he's like his
yeah.
ship was awesome, and he's like take me to Scooby, and you
Also,
see his
his
face, it was like
thing,
okay, it's really obvious.
yeah. Here's the thing: the faces we gave it away to me. Fred going, he had this really cool ship. That was to me, it's like it could be Dick, but it could also be Fred because Fred's just fucking stupid.
Yeah, but like the moment he's like, "Take me to Scooby-Doo," he's like, he
Yeah,
makes
as
like this
soon as
face.
he
He was
says
like,
that,
he's like,
yeah,
that's obviously him. Not only that, Dee Dee, like later on reveals like, how did he get like a van on this like one island? He's like, that's another good point. I was like,
yeah,
yeah, it was like really obvious later on. So anyway, Captain Caveman takes Blue Falcon and Scooby to the third skull, but they had to fight him in order to get
yeah.
it. And apparently, Captain Caveman is much stronger than he thinks.
Yeah,
Especially when you
I
call him
will
short,
say,
because
yeah,
he gets really ruthless in a
that
cartoony
reminded
way,
me of
though.
an episode of Chaotic, but I don't want to talk about that because that's too off topic. What I do want to talk about is that in this scene, while Tracy Morgan as Captain Caveman is my least favorite in this movie, I do like his attempt to copy the cadence of the original when he yells out Captain Caveman.
Yeah, I do know the whole Captain K-Man trademark yell. So when I
Yeah.
heard that, I was like, oh, I get that reference. I was like,
So hey.
yeah. Um, but yeah, this like there's like this. This is when Blue Falcon think this is his like quote unquote what he quote says as his like
Yeah.
hero
The hero
moment.
moment.
Yeah, but he just gets his ass handed to kept by Captain K-Man.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, Captain K-Man like fights them in like a really cartoony way too. Which is fine because this is kind of like what the whole kind of like style of this like
Yeah.
movie is kind of like. Um, and Scooby kind of like gets something on him, but Captain Caveman also
Yeah.
beats him and even like tears his suit into
I
pieces.
I looked up a picture of Captain Caveman while watching the movie, and I called Alex over and I was like, you know how weird it is to look at this shit after watching this movie twice?
Mm-hmm. So later on, Dee Dee and them would come to rescue Brian and Scooby. And Dee Dee has some kind of like, some of a chance with Captain K-Man, which is weird because since Dee Dee and Captain
Yeah.
K-Man are from the same show.
I think that might, if this does become a universe, Captain Caveman's probably going to get his own show, and I think that might be a setup. Like Captain Caveman's like, hey, you almost beat me. You might be worthy of being a team member in something or other.
Maybe. But yeah, later on, Shaggy and quote unquote Fred come to rescue Scooby. And Shaggy tries to apologize, but then he's like interrupted like a bunch, and it turns out, what a surprise, Fred was actually Dick Dastardly. Yeah, like I said, which was like really obvious. He's like, we saw like this coming from like a mile away.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider he's like, I have plans for uh, poor man's Hemsworth here.
Yeah.
So Dick not only gets away with the third skull, but he also captures Scooby as well. And they go to Athens, and not only that, they destroy Blue Falcon's ship in the process.
Yeah. Okay, so that was a moment that I feel like I've seen in a lot of comedy, but it always gets me. It's the "You'll never catch me because I have a ship," and Falcon's like, "Luckily for us, we have a ship too." Oh, do you?
Oh yeah.
The way he said "do you" and then laughed tells me he did something to the Falcon Fury.
And yeah, Dick has destroyed the ship. But there's some things intact which are enough to like help them get off the
Yeah.
island at least by putting him installing them
By
like
way
in
of
the
a
van
flying
as like
mystery machine.
as like a flying mystery machine. So yeah, this like literal dispute happens between Fred and Blue Falcon. He's like, I'll point at you, you don't point at me, I'll point at you.
Oh yeah.
Um,
God, that felt like Spider-Man.
a
Like
little
the
bit.
ending of Spider-Verse post-credit.
Oh yeah. So yeah, they're breaking up, and Shaggy has like this little speech. She's like, "Okay,
I find it
I'll
hard
admit
to
I was an
believe.
asshole.
I
So
find
let's
it
go
hard to
do this."
believe that fucking lanky ass Shaggy pulled apart not only two muscly men, but two muscly men with people behind them.
Yeah.
Like his arm should have broken under the pressure.
So yeah. So they go to they go install like the parts into the mystery machine and go to Athens. And Dick takes Scooby. He puts like the skulls in like place, which summons like this underworld kind of like temple. And he sees that the mystery machine is flying towards them. And he orders like the little robots to like take it down, but Dusty, the robot with the
Tries
vacuum
to
head,
stop it.
sees. Yeah, he tries to stop because he sees like Daphne in the van. And he's like, no.
And then the red asshole's like, my arms extend, bitch. And he hits the button.
Yeah. And it hits them, and obviously they're not dead. They're obviously still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dick uses Scooby's paw to open the door of like the Cerberus temple or whatever, and he opens the door, and Cerberus is free. And Dick is like, oh, this is probably not a good idea. Yeah, like he clearly wants it for, I guess not only I don't think it was like only for the treasure, but it was only also for to see
Yeah.
if Muttley was still alive, and he was somehow. Um,
Magic.
yeah. So yeah, the gang's all back together. Dick
I guess
reunites
if
with.
you're in the underworld, you can't really die because that's where you go when you die, anyways.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. Um. So yeah, the mystery gang's all back together. Dick reunites with Muttley. And I kind of like Muttley, where it's like signature like
Yeah,
wheezy
I
laugh,
like
and
that.
he's like, "Oh,
I think
Raz
they
and
kept the
Fresno."
old Snicker, but I know they had to recast the actual voice actors. I don't think the original voice actor's still alive,
Hmm.
and he
Um.
never said like there were a lot of things he never said that he says in the movie because he
Mhm.
didn't talk much in the actual shows aside from muttering under his breath for swearing.
Mhm. Um. So yeah, Cerberus is unleashed. Fred has this like Captain America moment where he's like,
Yeah, I
"My
found
mission
that
machine will be
funny.
avenged." Yeah.
I found that funny how he was called Poor Man Hemsworth, and then he has like the Captain America shield.
Yeah. Um. And he tries to have this big macho moment, but he just gets
Yeah.
flicked away like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Cerberus unleashed, and obviously they all have to stop it. So there's like one moment where Daphne Shaggy suggests maybe he wants a Scooby snack, and Daphne like
Yeah.
I always carry one in like my shoe or whatever,
Yeah.
um I see where this is going, but that Scooby snack must be really like dirty
I don't
or
know. She's
smelly.
pretty rich, dude. She probably
I guess.
she walks bathing.
Yeah. And so yeah, Daphne tries to use a Scooby snack, and Scooby eats it. He's like, and then she's like, "Good thing I always carry a spare." And Scooby eats that too. He's like, "I'm so weak."
Yeah. It's like, come on, Scoop.
Um. So. Uh. So yeah, they're trying to stop Cerberus. And nothing's happening. And this is where Brian has like redemption moment. Where
Yeah.
Dynamite talks him into, um, actually being what it means to be like really a hero. And this is
Yeah.
where Blue Falcon actually becomes that actual hero.
I
Um,
do like the joke where Dynamite's like, spread your wings and fly, and he's like, you're right. The Falcon isn't just the suit. The Falcon's also in here. And then he's like, you have actual wings on your suit, right?
which makes me question. I don't know how long Brian has been in like this suit, but or how long it's been since he taken like the mantle of his father. But
Yeah.
I feel like he should know everything about this suit at this point. Like,
I feel like at the end of the day, with like, because Brian obviously doesn't care much. He doesn't want to try to fill his father's shoes as it is. I feel like he was being lectured on of it by Dynamite and then just toned him out,
mm-hmm.
which is probably why he doesn't know anything.
um, so yeah, like Blue Falcon like gets the balls to like become a hero and help
Yeah. Then he
the
punches
mystery gang
Cerberus.
stop Cerberus and all that. Um, he saves Scooby from almost being eaten. Um, there's one moment where Dick Dastardly and Muttley get away with like the treasure. Um, and Daphne's like, "Oh, he got his friend back." Um, and Shaggy and Scooby tell the robots to help them out by telling them to
Yeah.
like turn into like bowling balls.
So for my
And
second watch through, my mom was watching with me, and I was like, if you could do this in Wii Sports, you'd probably get that full round strike you're going for all the time.
um, and Shaggy is like, he's like, the thing you turn into at the bowling alley. He's like, just tell them to turn
Yeah.
into bowling balls, dude.
Yeah.
Like you're
Like they
wasting
won't know
time.
what
People are probably
balls
getting
are.
killed. He's like,
Yeah.
um, but and there's like this little like encryption on like the Cerberus door, and Velma like reads it out,
Yeah.
and he's like, on like how to lock it and unlock it or whatever. And it's gonna be revealed later on, but we'll get to that later. So
I liked this. I liked Scooby and Shaggy fighting over who would be on the inside. That felt like Scooby and Shaggy, not like the stupid arguing shit that happened halfway through the movie.
Yeah, I'll get more into like I have more to say on that when we get to it, but
Yeah.
Scooby and Shaggy, I and the robots make the Cerberus slip on like bowling balls and into like the
Flash
Cerberus
move.
like go back into the underworld, and
Yeah.
they close the door, and Athens and the world is saved. But the way to lock the door is the Alexander the Great made it to where he had to be on one side, and his dog had to be on like the other.
Yeah.
So that was like the catch. So but Shaggy found like a loophole or like on how the dog and the best friend or owner or whatever had to
Yeah.
be. It didn't say specifically on who had to be on
He's
his
like
on which
he's
side.
like it's like you're the key, but it doesn't say which one of us has to be on the inside.
Yeah, and there's like this little conflict who gets to be on who, but Shaggy volunteers because I guess he had to be
Yeah.
like this has to make he wanted to make up for like being an asshole for like the first half of the movie.
Yeah.
Um,
And then Scooby gets to smack him a bunch.
yeah, um, and well, I can kind of see where this would be sad, but I still knew Shaggy was gonna be
Yeah.
okay in the end.
The thing is,
I didn't know how, but they did do it. Like he brought him back.
so
It was just
I
like
knew
I don't
I
know.
knew Shaggy was gonna be okay, but also I've watched this show since I was 3, and I'm a weak bitch. So when Shaggy's on the inside and you don't see him anymore, and then Scoob's upset and everyone's huddling around him, I started crying.
Hmm. Um.
I hid my face from Alex because I knew she'd be like, "Oh my god, are you crying?"
mm, Um. Like I don't know. It's like that kind of predictable thing. It's like it's obviously they're
Yeah.
not gonna like do this kind of thing. Um. Like they're not gonna pull like a Batman v Superman and like kill out the main character for like the first movie.
Shaggy comes out of the underworld himself. He's like while I was down there, I accessed 2% of my power.
Ugh.
I tied Cerberus into not using his own necks.
Mm. Um. So yeah, they lock the door. The temple is gone, and Alexander's like Alexander the Great apparently had like a loophole on how he would get himself out of the underworld.
Yeah.
And Scooby has to like talk to like the statue of when it pops up. He's like, "Shaggy, come home," and he
Okay,
actually
so
does.
I like when the door comes up in the statue. Shaggy doesn't walk out. Cerberus
Yeah,
fucking
he flicks
punts
him
him
out.
out.
Yeah,
He's like, "Fuck you, get out of my world."
he's like, "I've been talking to you for 2 minutes, and I'm already sick of you. Get out."
You say like too much, man.
Uh,
Also, I've watched the movie twice, and I really realized that's the one and only time throughout the entirety of the movie Shaggy says "zoinks" is when he's kicked out of the underworld.
that is true. I also forget to mention when Fred, Daphne, and Velma are in like Dastardly's ship and during like that in that room. That's the only time Jinkies is said, but it's not said by Velma. Fred says
Yeah,
it. I was like,
and Jeepers isn't said at all.
no, Daphne just say Jeepers at one point.
Did
I do,
she?
yeah, I do remember that.
I don't.
It was
I'll
like
have to
I
watch
think it was
it.
like in that part with in the van where they're analyzing like the robot and
Uh,
Dastardly. Um, but yeah, it's besides that, it's like after that, Scooby and Shaggy are reunited. The world is saved. Um, uh, Dynamite licks Brian's face with his middle tongue,
yeah.
which hurts like hell.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, and Dick Dastardly and Muttley are captured, betrayed by their own robots nonetheless, and
Oh yeah,
they just have this unmasking out of nowhere. But it's like a double
yeah,
fake out where it was
yeah.
Simon,
And
but it was actually Dick the whole time. I was like,
Dick's like a drat. Nobody ever goes for the double unmasking.
yeah,
One
and yeah,
thing that I liked early in the movie that I forget to mention is that when he's on his ship, at one point you hear Dastardly go double drat, which is a not to what his catchphrase was in Wacky Races. When someone would like pass his trap and not get hit, he'd go drat drat and double drat.
mm-hmm. um, so yeah, Dastardly is captured. Yeah, he does the meddling kids, classic line. Um,
Yeah,
and the Mystery Incorporated has their like own building for their business, and not only that, Brian, Blue Falcon, Dee Dee, and Dynamite also give Fred his new mystery machine, which is
Yeah,
like this
I like the
whole
new Mystery Machine.
yeah. It looks cool. I like the design.
The first time I watched it, I was like, Fred wouldn't naturally be okay with the new Mystery Machine because he loves his old one. But on my second watch, I took note of the scene where he's like, the Mystery Machine needs a new everything. And I'm
Um,
like, okay, yeah, it makes sense.
yeah. And the end of the movie, Velma gets contacted uh by someone named Jamie Rivera, and I don't know
Yeah.
who if this is an actual reference, but
I don't think it is.
okay.
Oh, I do know. At some points, twice in the movie, they did make a reference to El Capone with the classic kaboom sound that his guitar made.
Uh-huh. And then so yeah, she says like, "There's this ghost over here," and she's like, "We're on the case." And that's when the movie ends. Scooby Doo does the classic
Yeah.
Scooby Dooby Doo
So,
and
yeah.
Sting, and that's
So
where the movie ends.
the credit scene that they had before the actual like credits was the most. It is in my top two animated movie credits, only behind Spider-Verse.
Yeah, apparently in the credits like sequence, like, and this is like
There
where the whole
are
this
tons.
this movie is like a semi homage to Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
Like apparently Captain
So
K-Man recruits not only Grape Ape,
yeah,
Captain K-Man, Jabberjaw, and this person called Adamant.
yeah, I
And
love Adam. Up
Adamant
and
looks
Adam Ant. He
Adamant
looks
looks really
great.
different. He looks really different, but
Yeah.
I had to search him up. I was like Hanna
So
Barbera Ant. I was
yeah.
like, and that's who he is. Okay.
So okay.
And
Imagine me.
this is like pretty much the Hanna Barbera equivalent of
Yeah.
their own Avengers
So
team. So
yeah. So imagine me
hmm
at 1:05 in the morning.
hmm
My wife is sitting next to me. Our baby is sleeping. And I'm
hmm
going, oh my god, it's Grape Ape and Jabberjaw. This is exactly what I sound like. She's like, babe, you're going to wake up the baby. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm excited. It
um
was cool to see like these different characters acknowledged that I've loved since like my childhood. So,
hmm So yeah, that whole credit sequence happens. That's where the whole movie is. There's no mid credits or after credit scene.
yeah,
I
that's
kind
the
of
only reason I said for the credits originally. I
yeah.
was hoping there would be
I
one.
thought there would be because since this felt like a cinematic universe kind of thing, but no, there's apparently it's like I guess they were wanted to like play it safe because they didn't want to like jump in. It was like this is gonna be the best movie of all time, but um so yeah, that's the whole movie and overall uh it's definitely not a perfect movie. It's like there's like flaws with that
Yeah.
I have with it, but I like it okay. Like it's like I feel like it's like a fun. It's definitely like a fun movie. You can watch with the family and all that. It's like a fun family movie. At when it comes to that
Yeah.
kind of point. But uh with certain like with Shaggy being like an asshole out of nowhere or Fred, Daphne, and Velma having like nothing to do for like the first half. It's um, like there's some certain problems with it, but there's also like this isn't a bad movie. I'm not trying to say that at all,
Yeah.
but uh, like I liked it just fine. I thought it was like an okay like movie like overall.
Yeah. So I will say I don't. I so the movie is $25 if you want to own it,
Hmm.
and I will say, unless you're a huge fan of Hanna Barbera or Scooby Doo, it's probably not worth the price for you. I
Mm-hmm.
know one person in one of the Discord servers I'm in complained about like the overall ending and plot, and the way he described it was like, yeah, that's a fucking Scooby Doo episode, and while it's not necessarily Scooby Doo itself, you would expect any Scooby Doo movie to play out like a Scooby Doo episode. And if you're expecting something different, you shouldn't be watching a Scooby Doo movie, really, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because, especially because this movie is only an hour and 4 minutes.
Uh,
There,
yeah, hour and a half, but yeah.
oh yeah, I'm bad at numbers, but that's not the point. There are Scooby Doo movies, like fully animated ones from the past, that are about as long, if not longer, that have a plot that's exactly the same, just about, where it's just a long Scooby Doo episode.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think decades, 2 decades, but decades regardless, of watching Scooby Doo nonstop, just about ready to me for something like this, where it's less of I'm going to the movie to watch a movie, and more I'm going to the movies to watch Scooby-Doo.
Mm-hmm.
But to the average consumer, that's not necessarily an appealing idea, and I can understand why. Scooby-Doo is very cut and dry. It can get very boring. I've watched the original series more times than I care to admit, uh, and I can understand that. So, if you are interested in this movie and you're not necessarily a huge Hanna-Barbera or Scooby-Doo fan, I would recommend going to a free site. If you're scared about, mind you, that's not necessarily illegal. I learned this for myself because I do it quite a bit. It would be illegal if you distributed it or downloaded it, but if you just watch it online, it's no different than watching something from Netflix or Vudu.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want to spend, 20 $25 on just a big Scooby-Doo episode, I would recommend a free site. But if you are huge into Scooby-Doo or Hanna-Barbera, I would recommend this movie endlessly. It has so much love and passion for Hanna-Barbera and Scooby-Doo as a whole, and I'm happy this came out. I was worried with COVID-19 that it was going to be delayed, pushed back, and I'm glad it wasn't.
Mm.
And hell, I was probably going to buy it for myself anyways after it came out on DVD. So this is a win-win for me.
So yeah, like, and coming from like as a not so big like Scooby-Doo fan, like someone who like thinks like it's an okay like for what it is, um like I liked it for what it was. Like there's nothing like too groundbreaking about it. There's a few predictable stuff like which fair is like like the classic Scooby-Doo Hanna-Barbera kind of like way, but like I feel like this is like a good movie for whenever it comes on TV or whatever. It's like a good movie to pass the time or whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's especially great if you have kids, by the way. There are a lot of
oh yeah,
bright
definitely like
colors.
definitely like kids will love this like
Yeah.
when it comes to that category. But um if I had to give like a final rating on it, I'd say at best it probably deserves a 6, and that is like a 6 out of 10. But and
Yeah.
that is not like a bad rating at all. It's like I'd say it's like above
Yeah.
average at best. Um
Uh,
like this is not
in a
like
more biased sense, I say a 9.5 or a 10, but I'm also biased, so don't listen to me.
um like to me it's like it's definitely not a bad movie. There's nothing like that makes me go like, oh fuck this movie. But it's like, but it's
Yeah.
also like there's like some like kind of things with it, like as I mentioned before. But uh like yeah, so to like the big Hanna-Barbera fan such as yourself, it's like you say it's like a big good like homage to
Yeah.
it, as
It's
to
like
like the less average
yeah.
fan such as myself. I only see it
It's
like as like okay,
yeah.
like
So like normally a Hanna-Barbera fan is older in age. I'm 20, and
mhm,
I'm a huge fan because the only channel I watched growing up was Boomerang.
mhm,
So I would watch Flintstones and Tom and Jerry and stuff that would come on constantly, and then you get like these like in between bumpers that show Adam Ants and Grape Ape, Magilla Gorilla, Wally Gator. I hope those
Magilla
appear.
Gorilla, that was the fucking
Yeah,
thing.
I love Magilla Gorilla, and so if you're like me and you grew up watching Boomerang, or you're just legitimately an older person, because Scooby-Doo, the most popular Hanna-Barbera franchise, is 50 years old, and Dick Dastardly himself is older than Scooby. He's from like the earlier 60s or the 50s. And so, if you're like me and you grew up watching Boomerang, or you're just an older person and you watch these shows growing up, this is something that even if you don't like the movie itself for the plot, you will most likely love it for the references and the cameos and the jokes, at the very least, for nostalgia's sake.
Mhm. Um so yeah, that's like pretty much all our like thoughts on Scoob. Like it's it ranges from being an okay movie to maybe being like a really like good movie, but it's definitely not a bad movie. It's like a definitely like you can get some satisfaction out of watching it, um
Yeah.
but yeah, those are like all our thoughts. If for those who are watching, which I'm pretty sure they did, but if you did see the movie, maybe tell your thoughts about it in the comments below or whatever. And yeah, this is perfect timing. This is a perfect link. I'd say this is a good portion to like end the podcast with. So yeah, that was our like review on Scoob. I might do more movie reviews depending on how many people like also watch the same movies that I do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll just mention it like in different episodes, like for like a short bit. Um, so yeah, that was our review of Scoob. Thanks for Raichous for like coming to be on this podcast to
Oh,
review the
I'm
movie with me.
glad you asked me. Honestly, people don't ask me to do Scooby-Doo things often. This was a breath of fresh air.
Like I thought it was like it would make sense that you talk about this kind of stuff like
Yeah.
pretty much most of the time on Twitter.
I've been excited for this actually because I have a new computer obviously, and before I got the Wi-Fi set in, I couldn't like set up a proper desktop background like out of the things I have. So I just downloaded the thumbnail for this podcast off of the Discord chat and like connected my phone to the computer, and now that's my background. So I've been staring at that the whole time.
Oh,
I've really noticed how much Shaggy's face is shaped like a banana.
it kind of does now. I'm looking at it. But yeah, those are like review on Scoob. Thank you for those who are watching. Thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you.
Again, again, if you saw the movie, maybe tell us your thoughts below. Next podcast will be in June. As this is like a monthly podcast. Subscribe if you haven't more. Currently, my first wave of rap battles have like just like ended, and I'm working on the second wave as we speak. And hopefully that'll be ended out. It'll fully be out by like the end of the year. Hopefully that's what I'm going for, but I cannot confirm that. Oh yeah, and behind the scenes on the first wave of these rap battles will also be up as well soon enough. So stay tuned for those. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. Subscribe to Raichous if you haven't. Maybe check out his content. And
Feel free to tell me how much you hate me.
And with that, thank you for joining us on the podcast, and we'll see. I'll see you all guys. See you guys later. Bye, guys.